I think
Yeah.
we're
Beautiful.
welcome to Conversations with Ladies Who Launch. Today I have speaking mindset coach and very good friend of mine, Cynthia Painter. Thank you so much for joining us today, Cynthia.
Absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to it.
I know we have the pleasure of chatting to each other multiple times a week, but it's nice to do a more public conversation. So in these conversations with Ladies Who Launch, we're really kind of drawing back the curtains and getting the behind the scenes on beautiful women in business and their businesses and the behind the scenes so that people can see what they really look like. So thanks so much for joining us, and I cannot wait to chat with you.
Let's go.
So my first question is, how would you like other people to introduce you, your ideal clients?
Oh, I would love people to introduce me as the woman who really gets your mojo going for speaking for your business and allowing you to share your voice, create change, that passionate change, and make money doing it.
So good. And you're so good at doing it. You're so good at doing it. And I know the story, but how did you get into business?
Oh, boy. Okay. So what I'll just quickly say is that we are watching the chat box, by the way, in this Facebook Live. So do jump in. You can comment, give us thumbs up, the whole lot. Any questions, we'll answer them as well. So that's the Facebook Live in me person coming through. So how did I get into business?
I'm still in training with the comments box.
So you'll see me looking to the side. I am looking on my phone to keep track of those. We both will do that. How did I get into business? Well, this is really interesting. I think, let me just turn that sound down so that nobody else hears it. For me, it was the different path than most people. Most people have had, passionate about making cakes, so they open a cake store, right? Whereas me, it was not actually the case. I was passionate and loved my job. I realized as a corporate trainer in multinational organizations doing leadership training and change. I loved what I do and I miss it. The way I got into business, I actually got injured at work to the point that nobody would hire me anymore. It was a repetitive strain injury, and all our lovely people out there who's going to give me health and well-being advice. I've been through it all, thank you. But I went through this is going to be not only a behind the scenes, Anthea. I am brutally honest, and you know that I am a person who you can see straight through. So I'll be very honest in this. I was injured at work, repetitive strain injury. I went from 6 figures to 0 figures. I had massive depression. I had operations and, all these sort of things that just shattered me. And I had to be rebuilt from the inside out. I'm an extremely pragmatic human being. And so I logically decided in the depths of my own depression that I needed to add something into my world for me to be able to work. I'm not the type of person who will sit on the couch watching, I don't know, is it Days of the Lives? I don't know, eating truffles. I just can't do it, right? But I had to sort of pick myself up from a very, very dark place. And I decided pragmatically that coaching would be an excellent extension from corporate training, and that would make sense because I'm very AD for those who are in the NLP world. So I'm very process driven. And so I went and I decided that I would get both this mainstream coaching experience. So I did my diploma in executive and business coaching, and I would also get the non-mainstream. So I went and did my practitioner and then my master practitioner and then my trainer's training in NLP, in hypnosis, in timeline therapy, because that made sense that I would have both sides of the brain looked after. And then I was like, oh my God, how do I do this business thing, right? I had decided that I didn't want to have anything to do with business because they sucked and they had broken me. And so I started actually as a family coach. So I actually worked with families, and I am not with all due respect, I say I'm not a woo-woo person, but you do get, and she's smiling because she's heard me say this before, I do think that you can learn things from that happened to you, and I certainly got most beautiful clients who reinforced that I should not be in this space because we got great results, but it was so taxing. I was dealing with ADHD, and I had the right qualified support for this, but I was dealing with ADHD kids of split families, and I deteriorated through that because it was so taxing. And so I was into networking. I'm such an introvert, so networking was a challenge. But I would go to networking, and I eventually went, you know what? I miss a whiteboard. Anthony knows how much I love a whiteboard, and Post-it notes, and I miss the aspirational. And so I went, okay, I'm going to work with business owners, small business owners. And then over time, my niching came through. I really love the stage. I really love the stage. I love training. And I love, even when I was a kid in high school, I was in drama class, but I used to direct the plays as well as be in them. So I love seeing other people out there in that limelight. But I questioned for myself, how could I be a speaking coach? I don't know about vocal cords and, rounding and pronunciation and diaphragms. There was so many out there. But eventually I could see a place where I could have value. And so now we have this where I deal with mindset, strategy, and technique of being able to get your message out there, speak, and make it effective for you. I really want every woman to have their Moana moment. So if you've seen the movie Moana, let me know. To have that Moana moment where you're standing on the ocean, and you're standing on the beach at the ocean, and you're like passionately running towards things, and you're shouting your message out. And that's what I want for women.
Yeah.
So how's that for an answer?
No, I love it. I love it. And we need more women in business to be confidently using their voice. So I love that you've specialized in the speaking arena. Like, it's just so good, and you help people so much. So
it brings me such joy, and that's my number one value. So I know I'm in the right space.
Yeah. And we all know that business is easier if you're in the space of joy. Yes, it is. And so just going back to probably this evolution of your business, what did your first launch look like? Just to give us an idea of where you were then to where you are now.
Yeah, great. So we know that you can launch VIP, and we know we can launch a program. So my launch of, if we talk about VIP, it was very much about just doing the process, right? Webinar, put out an offer, see what happens. Webinar, put out an offer, see what happens, right? So it was, from a VIP perspective, it was getting in training for that process and working it out as I went. And I lots of hits and misses, lots of learnings. You get that excitement when you get a sale, and then you're like, why is no one turning up? And then if we talk about launch of a program, my first launch of my program was the beginning of last year, and was meant to be, last year was meant to be my Phoenix rising. Really coming into the space. I was launching my in-person mastermind program where I was going to teach people how to be on stage and how to run workshops and be in person. And then we had COVID. In person.
And then
we went into lockdown, and we had an international pandemic. And so therefore, I had to pivot massively. So my first launch was a massive pivot to then go, okay, let's quickly make this into, Facebook Lives. I was always passionate about Facebook Lives. And so it was on the run. And it was dealing with a lot of other stuff that was happening in the personal space as well. And so I went into the simplest thing I could do, and that was my 4-week program, Love Facebook Lives. And I'm so glad I did that. It was, I felt like I was learning, because I was in the space now of speaking, which I sort of came into probably, I was going to say 1999, but it's not. It's 23. 2019. At the beginning of 2019 is when I changed to speaking. And I feel like once I got that niching, I got so much easier to talk about it and come down to what the solution was. And so keeping my finger on the pulse to go, okay, online is really big right now and always will be, to be honest.
Yeah.
So my first launch of a program was Duck on Water.
But I love that you pivoted in the moment, because I have really realized through all these conversations with ladies that that's really what it looks like. It's not the perfect launch the first time around. Like, I'm even imagining when you first started doing webinars, did you even call them a launch when you were doing it for your
No,
work? No,
not at all. It was webinar to get leads, webinar to get leads. And can someone buy something from me, please? Yeah. That's what it was.
And that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about having these conversations with ladies who launch, is because I just think there's such a big rhetoric out there at the moment. Like, when I speak to ladies and I'm like, what are you launching? And they're like, oh, I don't launch. But then when I check in with what they're actually doing, I'm like, you're launching, babe. You're totally launching. Yeah. Like, let's not be so
diminish it, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's, people have got the idea that it's this massive thing, and we do see a lot of people launching. We're in the same spaces. We see people putting their programs out there. And so it becomes that, well, I'm just trying to get some sales to work with me one-on-one, and I'm just doing a webinar and see what happens. Yeah. I don't think they see it as strategic as it actually is.
Sorry, I've just got my daughter here.
That's okay. We're in lockdown, everyone, so I'm surprised I haven't had mine. Oh, that's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
I have 2 downstairs, so this might happen as well.
Okay, cool. Thanks, darling.
Nola's wonderful. We love Nola.
Amazing. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so now I'd love to look at, can you tell us about a time when business felt easy, and what did that look like? It doesn't have to be a long period of time where business felt easy. Just it's almost even just to give yourself some reflection on what are those moments when businesses have felt easy.
I think business feels easy when you're getting wins on the board, right? When you're getting those run on the boards. And certainly after a webinar I did a couple of months ago, the lead generation one, I really felt like, ooh, we're in the groove. It was a great webinar. It worked directly as far as a funnel was concerned. It got a sign up or two, got a couple of inquiries right off the bat. Sitting there feeling great about business because you've had that run on the board, and it's like, oh, I'm getting something back. So that's, for me, it feels easy when you've got wins. The thing is to try and make it feel easy when the wins aren't necessarily there. How do you do it in between? I mean, we both do mindset work, and we both have had our ups and downs, even as people who've done the training, right? So we were just talking about that before. It's I think if I talk about outside of when you get wins, because that's the easy time to feel it. For me, my biggest lesson that even is still happening today is I feel like it's when I let go of expectations of myself and others. I really make that to-do list so easy. And I get that self-care happening consciously, like deliberately. I've got a thing at the moment where I have a non-negotiable around 30 minutes exercise a day. And just proactively doing things that I want to be careful in what I say here, because I do believe that you should feel the emotions. If you're in a spot, then you take that time out and you look after it, right? It's the hanging out there. It's pitching a tent, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I always say it's a beautiful end. Like you get to choose when that's over, right? As long as you have belief that you know how to move through that emotion, then you can sit there as long as you want, knowing that when you're ready, you can come out of it.
Yeah. And so knowing that, like, because I allow myself to ruminate, in those, because I think it's important. Otherwise, it just come and smack you in the face later anyway. Right. So it feels like it's all working when I can then tap into those other stuff that I know puts me in a better place. For me, that's music. Right. So for me, it's the Spotify list, it's the headphones, it's the Pomodoros, it's tapping into those things that I know work, it's support network, which we have between us. It's dancing to Fitness Marshall. And if you don't know who he is, go check him out on YouTube.
I love some of the things that you described, because sometimes I think it's a choice to make it easy. Like when you talk about keeping your to-do list easy, and I often say to the women in my membership, what if it could be easy? What if it could be fun? Because it gives you this whole nother lens to look through, like when your brain's kind of gone into overwhelm. And sorry, just one sec.
Now, I just want to say hello to Belinda. Hey, Belinda, so good to see you. Thank you for the lovely smiley face. I love
I've got the whole family here. Giving them grazies going, what are you doing, guys? I'm on live.
Not right now. But this is real, right? This is all we're talking about. This is, the women in this group, particularly women in business, we have real friggin' lives. It's like I have had I would rather make this real than sugarcoat it, right? We've just been talking about the fact that I have a 14-year-old downstairs. I got a phone call from the school because he hasn't done his work for the last week. I've got a 10-year-old downstairs who was sitting on my lap in tears, having meltdowns, and we're in the middle of a lockdown, and I'm trying to run a business, bring in some money, and launch. Hey, people, this is hard. But we've got to look for how do we look after ourselves. The word choice is perfect because we don't feel like we have choice, right? But we do. We chose to do this. It's the biggest personal development you can do. You need to remember that you are still human at the center of it all. If this is way too much hard work, then you have other choices. But you also have skills and things that you can tap into we both are NLP and in a whole pile of other, level and skills that we can tap into that we can share with you. And even we have moments.
Many moments. And I always love it when, I'm sure you get this too, but when somebody is talking to me and they're like, oh, but you're a mindset coach, so you've probably got that covered. And I'm like, no. When I have my problems, they seem just as bad as yours, I promise.
100%. I had my cry day yesterday. It gets overwhelming. I think the difference is that because I also get that with speaking, like, oh, you're a trainer for 20 years. All right. Right. So, therefore speaking is easy. No, I stuffed it up so much. I was like stiff as a board, right? But the difference is because we've been through this training and all the various versions that we've been through, and each of us, we're different and similar. You can't unknow stuff. So for us, I'm going to speak on behalf of us, please correct me, but I know our training, right? And when the training we go through is friggin' hands-on. So you actually go through and experience all these things. It's not theoretical. So, and as a master trainer, and this is the way I train it as well, you do it hands-on. So you get shifts while you're doing it. You're not just like from a distance, but you still have stuff. I want to say shit. You still have stuff to deal with. What you can't unknow is things like you have choice. When I learned, one of the very first things that you learn in NLP as an example, and in hypnosis, is that, there's this thing of cause and effect, and you are ultimately responsible for your thoughts, feelings, and actions. There are times when I have stood in the middle of a park and gone, I'm responsible for my own feelings, for my own reactions. I'm responsible for where I'm at. And so therefore we know it's choice. So that is the difference when people say, oh, but you're a mindset coach. It doesn't stop you having the stuff, but what you can bring in is that you know some of the ways to get out of it. You still beat yourself up, and you know that there's a choice, and you have things to tap into it. That's the thing that is different. We still go through it. I explain it this way. I don't know if I've explained this to you before, Anthea, but I did a Facebook Live years ago. I think that's my answer to every question I get. I've got a Facebook Live about that. And I explained it this way. I was in Barrel, Southern Highlands of New South Wales in winter, and I was out doing a walk because I'm silly out in the cold. And I was looking at all the trees with the beautiful leaves on the ground, and big trees and little trees. And it was a metaphor for me to be able to go, through life, these trees go from a sapling to, massive trees, but they experience the same shit over and over, right? So those seasons they have, summer, well, what's the order? Summer, autumn, winter, spring, they go the same over and over. But it's how they experience it. Do they take the lessons and deal with it at the level of a sapling? And if they do, they will grow richer roots, a stronger trunk, and broader branches, so that when they deal with the same stuff coming around again, they're dealing it at a different level. Because they've taken that learning and moved on, but they still deal with the same stuff, right? We still deal with the same stuff, right? But because we've dealt with the sapling level, then we could deal with it as we go, using those, evolving those. It doesn't, evolution, for want of a much better word, mindset evolution isn't about not having to deal with stuff anymore.
Yeah.
You don't get to this. I know people talk about oneness and so forth. I've got clients who are very into the divine and so forth. You don't get to a point where there is never an issue anymore. You get to a point where you can not only notice that you have choices, you can make those choices, but then you're in a better place to deal with the next level.
Totally. And I've been talking to my membership ladies recently about ripping off the Band-Aid on the mindset wobble, because I have this new belief that's kind of forming around the quicker you own it, the quicker you share it with your supportive people. You don't have to share it with everyone, but the quicker you can move through that and not let it escalate into a snowball. Whereas if you do the suppress thing, ignore that it's happening, ignore that you're wobbling, it can take, it can become this whole thing that you end up needing to do regression on and blah, 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 blah. Whereas I think a lot of people think that when they own their mindset wobble, they will then, like, say you're doing it in a group program, then that will become part of their identity, like, oh, the lady who always feels like that. Whereas I'm like, people will ask me about the mindset wobble that I had yesterday, and I won't even remember it because I've owned it, shared it, got some support around it, and moved through it. Like,
yeah. And that is a choice. Both of those are a choice, to sit in it, to not sit in it. I've said this even, I've got a close group of girlfriends as well that, we go through a lot of parenting stuff with. And I've said to them, I'm not going to be the only one that's a hot mess. Like, you guys need to own up too, right? That's what we're here to be friends for. We're all hot messes. Share it, put it out there so that we can move on. They won't ask for help, or be vulnerable. And the lesson, I think, is that vulnerability is okay, right? It's because culturally it's not, right, to have that vulnerability, to say I'm having a mindset wobble. I mean, I feel it too. If I sit out there and say to people, okay, I suck at business sometimes, it's like, oh, I'm not supposed to, because I'm supposed to be this expert in what I do, right? A great example was Anthea asked me a question as part of my Ask Me Anything series on Facebook Lives. how do you stay consistent with Facebook Lives? She knows damn well I don't stay consistent with Facebook Lives, but I answered it from a place of, you know what? And I loved it because it called me out, and I already knew it. Like I do my best because I'm trained to people to be consistent. I fall off the wagon, and I absolutely answered it from that place of vulnerability of, you know what?
Meanwhile, I'll just have to stop you there. Meanwhile, your friend Anthea was not trying to call you out on it. I was like, Cynthia's way more consistent with Facebook Lives than I am. What's your secret?
Exactly, right? And then I'm going, imposter syndrome, holy shit, right?
And so there's this perfect level of consistency that needs to be achieved.
Right. And coming from the point of I'm selling programs about getting you more consistent. And it was great because for me, I answered it from a place that of, you know what, I am imperfectly consistent. And what we want to do is get you more imperfectly consistent. Right. And you are going to fall over. I mean, Anthea has been through my fallovers, where I didn't want to get out of bed. I've, had honestly the most horrific 18 months to 5 years. So how do you do that without trying to have this mask on that you have to be perfect at all? So back to your point about pulling that Band-Aid off, there's an evolution to get to that point. There's bravery and courage, and that vulnerability is okay. And even that sometimes that mindset wobble is actually something that, has imposter syndrome, for example, attached to it. And the idea of saying it out loud, and I think you point to finding your space. You may not want to expose your imperfections in your specialty, but I think I take one thing from Tash Corbin, for those, many people here. One of the things that stays front of mind for me is remembering that in business, you are a role model, but not a role model in your specialty of perfection, because perfection doesn't exist. Sorry, perfectionists. It is a role model in taking the lessons and going, here I am role modeling the lessons, because we are so many steps ahead of our ideal client. Inevitably, it is ourself of so many steps before, and being able to go, hey, look, this is the feminine model, right? That I am still learning this. Here's my lessons on this, and here's my results, rather than I am perfect with my shiny car and my, big house and, shiny suits. Right?
My poor membership ladies do not get the shiny Anthea when they turn up to my calls. Like, oh yeah, I had that problem too last week.
It's so important, right? It's so important because that's what we need to crack. We need to crack it in business. We need to crack it in life. The Band-Aid, whichever way you want to look at it, is you need just to turn. That's why I love people sharing the message. I have to say, you just need to turn up and share where you're at and your lessons, because the person that you are most passionate, I'm going to cry, person that you're most passionate in business has that problem that if you turn up imperfectly to share, you are going to help them. That is what you're here to do, right? If you show up like I did when I first started, I'm getting ranty. When I first started, I was presenter mode after 15 takes of doing a Facebook Live on my video, on my camera, so on my phone, and then I would do this presenter mode, as in TV presenter mode, Facebook Live, and my mum would comment on it, and that was great. That was about all that was happening, right? Thanks, Mum. I wasn't connecting, right? Yes, I would get, that build up and networking and stuff, but it took a long time to get to the point where even now my hair is not straightened. It's brushed. It's not straightened. I got a bit lippy on, but this, you get me. You get me. And
she may have been brushing it at the beginning of our
I'll tell you what, I've got next to me, I might have this beautiful backdrop, ladies, but I've got my water, I've got my table, I've got my lipstick, I got my brush, right? It's all set up, so I just have to go, right? I turn up imperfectly, share your lessons, you're passionate about what you do. You can't be perfect because it doesn't exist.
And it's not as connecting as being the real you.
Yes.
Anyway.
Exactly. And that's what I want to say, even from the vulnerability elements of pull off that Band-Aid, right? Because why is that a fear? Well, I mean, there's so many fears. This is a great mindset to mindset chat, by the way. I love it. Love it. I'm in my element.
They're both nodding, going, yes, we need to hear that today.
Right, to each other. So even that point of pulling off the Band-Aid, why do we get worried about pulling off the Band-Aid? And part of that is because, and by the way, if you're watching this even on replay, if any of this makes sense to you, can you just go yes, like hashtag replay, right? Join in the conversation, give us some love.
Not alone.
Right, but even on the replay, right? Because like we're being pretty vulnerable and honest with you here, for not just, this is therapeutic for both of us, but this is for you too, right? We're not doing this for our own benefit, although we get benefit from it. I think that whole idea of ripping off the Band-Aid and the mindset wobble, part of the obstacle, as it is in basically anything in business, as it is in why people won't go and speak in person, run workshops, do Facebook Lives, do Instagram Reels, whatever, right? My space is full of this, as would be yours, is that whole worry. And I know it's like one of my triggers, is that whole people won't like me. People will realize I don't know what I'm doing, but particularly if I talk about that, people won't accept me. We're human beings that are wired to be accepted, but we're wired to be accepted in our herd, which is not these thousands and millions of people who are on Facebook. We're wired to be accepted in our herd of like 7 to 10 people, right? So here now we worry about being ourselves because what if people don't like me? Or like particularly my space, which is so exposing, right? What if I get trolls? What if I get this? What if I don't? And so what I say to people is, there is not a human being, past, present, or future, who is accepted, loved, and liked by everyone. Even a thing. We're not all dog people, for example. Some of us like cats. Jesus Christ, right? So there's not a thing. Even Chris Hemsworth has haters, if you can believe that. I don't know how, because Chris Hemsworth. Right? But there would even be people who are like, Chris Hemsworth?
Right? I got my first troll that said I look like a horse. I posted it yesterday and the person was like, why did you use this picture to advertise you look like a horse? I was like, I've made it. I look like a horse.
Absolutely, right? And so this puts dread into people because like, oh my God, if I'm seen, but then if I'm like, I am exposed, but then if I'm seen by people who don't like me, right? So I just want everyone to know that, yes, celebrate it like Anthea did, because, and I'm going to keep talking while she talks to Nola, okay? Because just let me manage. You do what you need to do, right? She'll be back, right? This is time with Cynthia. So, but just know that you are enough, right? But you shouldn't be aiming to get to everyone. What we want you to do is actually just connect with your people, right? The sooner I got comfortable with me, the sooner I attracted my people, rather than trying to get everybody. This is just talking to Cynthia. This is not an interview with Cynthia. Right? So it's all good. But that whole thing of you can't be liked by everyone. It's not possible. And I know that's a mindset thing, but if you embrace it, you are enough, that you have a message. I don't care how many other people do what you do. Nobody does it like you. nobody has your experience. Nobody has your take on it. Nobody has your interactions with how you've dealt with your customer or yourself to get to where you're at with your message, right, around it. And so the more that you forget the others, I use a saying when I first learned all this, that they respect other people's models of the world. It's one of the NLP presuppositions. Okay. So understanding that there are other people's models of the world, because we come from this place like, how could they? Like, let's talk about Sydney. How could they have done protests on the weekend with thousands of people in the middle of a pandemic? How could they? Right? People have other models of the world, and therefore they have other thinking. And so the thing that has helped me with that is understanding that's their model. And I use this phrase. It's a phrase that comes from the down south, from Southern America, bless their little cotton socks. Right? When they're going to do their thing, I did a photo last week with my mask on, but my nose was over, and it was my photo of me with my kids getting ice cream, and we were eating ice cream. We didn't even need a mask, but I took the photo quickly. There was no one else around, and I had someone comment on my Instagram going, "What are you doing? We're in a pandemic. Wear your mask correctly." And I went back to go, you know what? I was on my driveway. There was no one else there. Thank you for, holding the line. And she went, "Thank you for clarifying."
Yeah.
But if you come from this place of, you know what, that's just them in their own model of the world. Everyone's got their own thinking. Bless their little cotton socks.
And I just love like that stepping into your own confidence, because you're going to get weird comments. Like I remember the first time I really started feeling comfortable with Facebook Lives, and I'd watch back and I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's kind of like me. Like, that's kind of like what it's like to chat to me. There's a bit of Anthea vibe going on here. That's pretty good. And I remember getting a message from a family friend going, "Oh, these are the tips that you need to follow so that you don't say so much." And I was like, not really going for presenter mode, but thanks.
Bless their little cotton socks.
Yeah. And I'm sure she still watches me and goes, "Oh God, how unprofessional." What?
Right. I'm in this online fitness program, and it's with the Bachelor from years ago, Sam Wood, right?
Yeah.
And he has this program. I love it. I pop in and out. He's been doing this program for years. I've given him this feedback, and he's not taking it. Stop looking at the screen, right? He doesn't look at the camera. He does funny Facebook Lives and videos every single day, and he looks at the camera. And I'm like, I've said it once. I don't need to say it again. He's being him, and he doesn't need to listen to me. But he still has amazing results. He loves what he does. He's very genuine. People love him, right? Him and his beautiful family, and all the rest of it. You just need to do you, and you take the bits that you need to take in.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is bless their cotton socks until such point it's either important or not important. But and that's an evolution. That is an evolution.
It's totally an evolution. And if you don't have the resources within, the other thing I would add is if you don't have the resources within in that moment, reach out to your support crew and borrow theirs, because we do that with each other all the time. Sometimes, 100%. With my horse comment, I was good. I was laughing. I thought it was hilarious. But catch me on a vulnerable day, I might have been in Cynthia's inbox going, "Somebody called me a horse."
Do I look like a horse? I was like, yeah, exactly, right. And so it is definitely an evolution. And I know that you would teach to your ladies in your mastermind all the steps there. If there's anyone here who's not done it before, if I can give you one step to go on that evolution, and that is a combination of awareness and sort of self-love, right? To have this gentle curiosity, right? I always start with my clients to go, all I want you to do is notice the thoughts. notice the thoughts, understand that emotional center of you is like a 4-year-old child. It's how I describe the unconscious mind. And it's just bringing things to your attention. So rather than beating yourself like, oh, I shouldn't have said that, like, how could I be so stupid? God, I'm hopeless. Notice the thoughts and go, oh, okay, that's it. Thank you for bringing, I always have it with gratitude. Thank you for bringing that to my awareness. I think I'm good for right now. Right? Just start with awareness. It's where I started. It helped me go from, I was massively wired to have an external locus control. So for those who don't know what I mean is my very first coach, the brilliant David Diggle, it's his real name, very first coach I had in those moments when I was in depression and coming out of injury, he would say to me that I would value the garbage man's opinion of what I needed to do and who I was over my own. So that's an external locus of control, where I have an external framework and would self-doubt myself to the point. And so by starting to do that, build the awareness in, and just have acknowledgement and gratitude. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Thank you for bringing that word. Thank you for bringing it to my attention. I think I'm good, or there's something to learn here. Just start with that. Begins to get you to have a more internal checks, but from a place of beautiful, gentle curiosity, rather than shame and guilt and judgment. And I hate the word should because it's full of judgment. But building from there.
And really, I think setting aside that judgment is about the most resourceful thing you can do, because it allows you, I always talk to people about like putting on your lab coat and your spectacles so that you can really get an objective assessment about what's going on, and taming that judgmental part of yourself, because it's a way more resourceful place to like initiate change.
I'm going to have an interruption. Keep going.
This is so good. We did not plan for these interruptions, but I'm so happy that they have occurred, because I think it just really shows you guys that this is what life is like behind the scenes. We have imperfect offices with families in the background, and this is not staged. This imperfectness is not staged. So if you're catching us on the replay, I would love for you to leave the hashtag replay and any insights that you may have, or comments or contributions, because I am having a fun time. So the next question I'm going to ask Cynthia. Oh, here she's coming back.
We have technology issues, which is meaning that my 10-year-old is hating everything because it's not working. So he's just going to have a little chill out. This is lockdown, homeschooling, real life, people. And if it wasn't lockdown, it would be something else. Yeah. Ask me your question.
sending everyone who may still be in lockdown or is experiencing lockdown for another time so much love.
100%.
It's a completely different world out there. So my next question is, to summarize, we have spoken about your challenges, but to summarize, what is your go-to when you're experiencing challenges in your business?
When I'm experiencing, I have a couple of go-tos.
Yeah.
When I'm having challenges, I just have to read. Okay, so one is my support network. Inevitably, I'm at a point with, I've got Anthea and Jody. We're our little support network where we've got permission just to vent with no expectation of anything else. So, that is definitely a go-to. Other go-tos is to actually just step back. Like sometimes, and this is my lesson. I don't believe things happen for a reason. I think you can take reason out of things that happen. Mm-hmm. And the reason I'm taking out of, or benefit I'm taking out of lockdown is, again, learning to really just get in the flow and manage those expectations. So another go-to is to be able to take a step back. Right? And look for just what are the must-dos, right? And drop the rest. The third go-to is allowing myself self-care. Self-care, and whatever that looks like. Sometimes that does look like sitting on the couch and watching. My go-to is Law and Order SVU. So I will go and watch an episode or two of that. And if that means I've written off the afternoon, that's okay. So that self-care is really important, that it's okay. I'm not a terrible person because I've taken the afternoon off. We've had some major things happen in this space in my household. So, to be able to go that. But then let's talk about getting back on the wagon go-to. To get back on the wagon is journaling. I don't do it as much as I should, but just getting it out of my head. Whiteboarding. Whiteboard. Getting it all again out of my head, because otherwise I'm just trying to hold everything.
Yeah.
And tapping into my number one value. My number one value in life is joy. And my way of tapping into that is choice, right? Choosing to look through things in joy. But the other number one, the way I do that is music. I know music helps me. So I know that what works for me. I love to paint. I don't do that as much because it takes a lot of stuff to make that happen. You have to set it all up. But I can stick on Spotify. I can have a dance break. Physiology changes your psychology. So that proactive of music taps into my good place with joy, and then I feel a lot more resourceful. So any of those things.
It works every time. Like, I know Cynthia pretty well now, and that music works every time.
It does work every time. And the girls will remind me to go music, or I'll say to them, dance break, a little jiggy with it with Will Smith. It's definitely a good, a bit of Bruno Mars. Definitely it's my siren, it's my soul stuff. So.
And I think that ties in so many points together, because your support crew knows what works for you. And so a simple text message saying dance break, and you've got ones for me and Jody, vice versa, is enough to change your whole day, whole week, whole launch around.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It doesn't have to be dancing. Like, people have different things that work for them.
A friend of mine, her thing is to draw. She does zentangling, and Google it if you don't know what zentangling is. But it's a really beautiful type of doodling, mindfulness. It's gorgeous. So different people have different things. And I think if you can do this in two ways for those that are listening, one is take a moment when you're in a good space to identify what those go-tos are for you, right? There's no use. I often say you can't teach someone to swim when they're drowning. So there's no use doing it when you're in a bad place. I don't ask the kids when they're bored what they're going to do. I ask them when they're not bored, what's the list of things that'll be on their board list that they can go to. So in your good space, come up with those things that help you. And sometimes it is, I'm just gonna retreat. I'm going to sit down and watch TV and have my lunch and take a break. Sometimes it is the upbeat element, like music or going for a walk or sitting outside or whatever, you're having a bath or whatever it is, right? Yeah. So come up with that list of your go-tos that will help you move your energy, and then build a support network. The first time I physically met Anthea, we sat next to each other at conference a few years ago. We connected straight away. We became, conference buddies. Jody, we knew as well, and she's an extroverted socialite, so we connected over drinks, as you do. But over time, we've actually allowed ourselves some vulnerability. We've made some choices this year to work together as a mastermind group. And so that is built. So find someone, even if they don't know, it's not a business buddy, find someone to start building that support network, because you do sometimes need that out of your own head, looking in, non-judgmental. And we have, I think the beautiful thing about what we have done, Anthea, this year, because we've only formally masterminded this year, right, is that we've been clear on not only the accountability side of it, but how we support each other, and we know to ask, what do you need from me?
Yeah.
And we have said, do you need to just vent, or do you need a solution?
Yeah. I often say to, well, both of the girls, do you want mindset, Anthea, or do you want compassionate, like, hold you in this corner, Anthea?
Yeah. Do you need a solution? Do you need a vent? And we have this little, we have it almost contained, I think, in the messenger group, in that we know that's a space that we can use for just venting. If we just want to go #vent, if we want to go wolf pack, if we want to go fast money challenge, if we want to do business strategy, whatever we need at that moment. And we also know how to step out.
Yeah.
So that's going to take time, but do think, for those who are watching this, and if you have that, by the way, please let us know. I actually would love to know in the comment box, anyone who watches this, what's some of your go-tos, because that would be great inspiration for other people. What is the thing that gets you to be vulnerable, gets you to move through a mindset wobble, because I think that's really what we're talking about here, and gets you into a more resourceful state. For me, it's all about getting to that place where you can be more resourceful. And then have you built up that support network? Because I know I've gone into many groups, many programs, and people will go, buddy up. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm not going to buddy up. I'm on my own, because I've got so many reasons why. Right? But I don't want that vulnerability with just anyone. I don't even like to go boxing with a partner. I'd love to box a bag, right? Because of the judgment thing that has been my obstacle my entire life that I've worked on. Right? That concern about, because of that external locus of control, the concern of what other people think. I've shifted that a lot. But start to work out how you can build that up. It may be on a business level to start with. Yeah. I have like I said, I have a good close girlfriend parenting, kids are all friends group, and we connect on a different level.
Yeah, and I've started walking with a friend, and we're in the same. I think it's all about timing as well. Like, don't expect your business bestie, if they're not in the same kind of stage as you, to provide all of the things for you. Like, really search around and be honest with yourself who's at the right stage. Because this walking buddy, beautiful friend of mine, we tried to walk together every day a year ago, and it just did not work for whatever reason. But now we're at it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a lot to do with timing.
Yeah, absolutely. And working on yourself.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know that the three of us, for example, would have been as vulnerable a year ago.
No.
Like, surface level, we have some things in common. We bounce around. We're, in group programs together. We'd all worked with each other in different ways. But yeah, we put structure. I believe structure influences behavior. So we had some structures, and it's worked and it's evolved, and they've let me be a hot mess. I've let them be a hot mess. You can be a hot mess and people will still love you.
Absolutely. No, it's so good. And I so value having you in my life. So thanks so much, Cynthia.
Oh, it goes both ways.
Okay, but thank you so much for this chat. It has been so amazing. But before you go, I would love to share with my community all the ways people can work with you. Free, paid, give it to us, babe.
Okay, awesome. So if you jump on right now, actually, and I will get the link for this, is a different link. Yeah, so we've got the mastermind link, right? So they've got the 90-day quest that is starting the first week of September, and at the moment it's waitlist. So that waitlist is an opportunity for you to come in and get notified when it opens up for early bird. So what is the 90-day lead generation quest? If you've enjoyed this masterminding conversations, you'll enjoy the quest. So what we're going to do is, over 90 days, we are going to, as a group, come together. We're going to set some goals about lead generation, right? We're here to make money, people. We're here to grow our business. but we're going to do it through online presenting. So we're going to every week have a huddle. We're going to have some hot seat coaching. I'm in it with you. We're going to set some goals, but we're also going to evolve and work on online presenting, because presenting in general and speaking for your business, particularly, but online, because it's friggin' free, people, and it's there, is so connecting. Like we could have written this as a newspaper article. We could have written this as a blog. You wouldn't have got a sense of who we are, right? And
you wouldn't have seen my daughter interrupt.
Yeah, with my child.
You wouldn't have had all the fun bits, guys.
But you also wouldn't have got a great sense of who we are, right? And connected us on a relationship level. I guarantee you, if you saw us in public now, you would feel like you knew us, right? And that's what happens. So speaking accelerates connection, and therefore accelerates your ability to create lead generation conversations. And so during this 90-day program, we're going to start with Facebook Lives. Whether you've never done them before, or whether you're a seasoned pro and you just want to work on the actual lead generation strategy and nailing those lives, this is what I love about this quest, and I'm trying to articulate it really well, is where it's a together. We are questers. We are a bunch of us on a quest. And you are already on this quest. You're just doing it by yourself, right? You're already out there working on generating leads and getting yourself out there. Can't do it in a very fun way together, where we're going to learn with each other. One of the things that is the greatest thing about this program, besides the coaching, is that we will have, and I know everyone has a private Facebook group, but the thing with this is it's actually a practice playground. So it's a safe place to come and try Facebook Lives and do things. So I'm going to help you with your content plan. I'm going to help you with your mindset support and dealing with those wobbles, and my own wobbles that will come up. We're going to look at your numbers and do lead generation strategy. We're going to develop, fine tune and tweak your online presenting, starting with Facebook Lives. We're going to add in videos, free videos that don't require any funky editing. And we're also going to be able to work on a webinar by the end as well. And if you want to do Instagram lives and reels, I'm experiencing that too. So it's really is a together thing, but we're going to start with Facebook Lives, because you can do Facebook Lives, you can do any type of speaking. So that's normally $995. If you're on the wait list, you will get first access when the special comes up, because we're going to be for a short period of time, which is $795. So a good opportunity to work with me as a group. If you want to work with me one-on-one as a group, reach out with one-on-one as a person, then my VIP is $1395, so $1395 for 3 months with me one-on-one, and we'll do all that, but one-on-one as well. And of course, you can always catch my webinars. I do a couple a month as well. I can give you the link for that. The next one, you can still actually catch the training for the recording of the last one, which was, I'm just going to put it in the chat box here for Anthea to then share.
Yeah, cool.
If you jump on it this week, you'll still grab the recording or the replay for Facebook Lives that work and convert. That link in the following week will actually go to the lead generation, Facebook Live for lead generation webinar. So grab that one while you still can.
Amazing.
And of course, you can find me on my page.
Thanks.
Cynthia Painter at Create Action Now on Facebook.
I'll put the link to that one as well. What I love about your Quest program, you sort of touched on it, but what I really love about it is I think people shy away from like that kind of length of program because they think it's going to be a whole bunch more work on their to-do list. But this is kind of taking things that you're doing anyway and having Cynthia's support and actually making it easier as you go. So
and fun.
Yeah, easier and fun. So it's like, it's if you liked our conversation about finding your support group, it is a great start. Really.
Yeah, absolutely. And what we're going to do is not next level what we're going to do. We're going to fine tune what you do. Mm-hmm. We're going to make, you know, if you're wanting to do Facebook Live, I want you to think about what your goals are for the end of the year. So this is going to be a great support network for the end of the year, you know, and we're already in July, we're almost in August. So we're going to be starting this in September. It's going to take you up to the beginning of December. We're going to help you create your Facebook Lives to make them more strategic so you can attract your audience more easily. You can nurture your audience more easily. We can make this process a lot more fun. So running your business isn't so serious, right? And you really know where to hone into. And we're going to help you feel more comfortable speaking on camera so you actually show up and do it. But you do attract, nurture, and convert, because that's what your marketing is supposed to do: attract, nurture, and convert your ideal people.
Yeah. And I've just had a thought. I love the consistency aspect of it too, right? Cynthia's there to keep you accountable.
Absolutely right. And I'll tell you what, I'm in this as much as everyone else. I know I'm way more consistent in this when I do this quest with people. So you will have me not only looking at your business and stuff, but we're doing this together. Right. And I know it helps me in my own business when I do it to be more consistent, right? Because I'm showing up for you.
Yeah.
That's what that at the end of the day is what we're all here, is to show up for that person that we're passionately about helping. I want you to do that. Yeah. I want to help you do that.
So cool. So if you're interested, please reach out to Cynthia. We've put all the links in the comments. If you have any questions, please come back, put #replay if you're catching us later. Pop any questions that you have in the comments, and both Cynthia and I would be happy to come back and have a chat.
We will definitely do that.
Thank you so much for joining me, Cynthia. As always,
Pleasure. It's
just so much fun talking to you, and I'm really happy that we got to share this one in all our imperfect glory.
Oh, she needs to go into a time machine and we'll bring the time capsule and we'll bring this up in a year's time and look back on this is what it was like in life in lockdown.
Absolutely. And what a beautiful memory, beautiful imperfect memory to have.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Beautiful.
Thank you for allowing me to be here and sharing with your audience.
Thank you. See ya.